Hey, what's up, guys and gals? My name is Rick9G. Thank you so much for joining me today. We're going to be talking about the latest news on the Warner Brothers destruction of the lot. Now, there's so much for me to talk about. For some of you, this may be the first time you actually see my face and don't just hear my voice in my commentary. So I welcome you to the channel. I'm going to do a little bit of a different video today because I think the topic calls for it. We're going to be talking about the destruction of the back lot of Warner Brothers. Now, I'm not going to get into all the details, all the history. We're just going to look at the reason why this should happen. And then we're going to look at, toward the latter half of the video, why this should not happen. Now, I want to mention a few things. I just want to get right into it. Warner Brothers has a gigantic studio in Burbank, California, but they have another one called Columbia Ranch, but it's owned by Warner Brothers, also known as the Warner Brothers Ranch. That's where they have backlots from things like the Bewitched house, the I Dream of Jeannie house, Leave It to Beaver house, the Lethal Weapon house. These are all the homes of those shows and movies. There's even the National Lampoon house, Christmas Vacations. The news is that these homes are all going to be demolished. Now, some of you may know that I am a fan of Adam the Woo. In fact, his channel kind of inspired me to do what I do with classic TV shows. Now, what's important is that Adam the Woo made a video about a year ago saying, hey, I'm on the Warner Brothers lot. He actually was able to go on the ranch, walk into the homes, we'll talk about that in a little bit, and show that, hey, by the time you're watching this, everything will be destroyed. Now, this was a year ago. Okay, this was a year ago that the video was uploaded. So remember, he went on the ranch and he said, when I go and post this video, everything will be destroyed. So he obviously did it before, and he was given the word on when it could be uploaded. Now, as of today, everything hasn't been demolished. Some of it has, but not everything. 3 months ago, he made another video, as of when I released mine, so I hope you're giving up, 3 months ago, showing that the homes were still there and showing that they're going to be demolished. Now, it is a slow process. It doesn't take a year to demolish things, but it seems like Warner Brothers may be going through some issues, and a lot of people are revolting. They're upset. They're angry. They're saying these things should be preserved. They should be put in a museum. They should maybe be preserved, and then they should give a tour, right, for people to come on and look at them, and we should pay money to be able to have them. Now, I'm going to talk about why that's not going to happen and why that is not a good idea for Warner Brothers. Now, I don't want to give too much of my thoughts, if that makes sense, like my opinion, they should or should not. I'm just going to give you both sides here. But let's get into the reasons. This is why I believe that Warner Brothers should, and I stress should, be destroying these treasure troves of buildings, houses. We'll talk a little bit about what I'm talking about, because again, I break the wall and I deep dive into classic TV shows and movies. The number one reason, or let's start with number one. I have four main reasons. The number one reason, I have my notes down here, is to make room for new sets and stages. Remember, this is outside on a back lot, basically like an open area, right, where they have homes standing in what is a fake neighborhood. Literally, the Lethal Weapon house is next to like the Leave It to Beaver house, next to the Bewitched house, next to the I Dream of Jeannie house, and so forth, and other homes there. But remember, Hollywood is Hollywood. This does not mean that they're, like, if we talk about the Bewitched house, you think you may go inside that house and all of a sudden you see the furniture, you see there's plumbing there, a first and a second floor. No, remember, these are facades. It's only fronts. And so it's not a complete home. I know that shatters the illusion. I know some of you know, I know some of you don't know. But what they're actually going to be destroying is the facades, the front look. There's no backside to this home. I'll show you some images of how this works. Now, why are they doing this? Remember, these homes are built in the 60s, right? So what happens is this wood rots. It disintegrates. All facades, sets, everything that's for TVs and movies, they're not made to last. They're not made to last like your home. They're front facades used to film a show that maybe lasts a year or two. Then they're destroyed, and what happens? up pops something else. They could build a fake skyscraper that's like 3 stories tall, but it's only the front, if that makes sense. The idea that I'm trying to portray is that these facades, these homes that were made, these half homes basically, it's a house split in half, they were only made temporarily to be there, and they've been around for like over 60 years. What are they going to build there? Apparently they're going to build new sound stages, so big warehouse, empty buildings, which they have a lot of, but they're going to build a lot of green screens, and they're going into this AI thing, which gets into the whole, writer strike, which I won't get into. So that's number one. Number two, as I kind of mentioned in number one, these sets are old. They're falling apart. Now you may say, why don't you just fix them, Rick? Why don't you just fix these sets and save history? Okay, so think about these. These are pieces of lumber, essentially, just the front sides, and painted to look like a home. So are you going to remove these old boards, put in new boards to make the home, and then paint it? That costs money. It's not like they don't have money. But if you would do that, are you going to rebuild the same home? The same Bewitched home for who? They're not filming Bewitched anymore. They're not filming Lethal Weapon anymore, right? They might as well just build other homes that they could use for new shows so that you don't keep recognizing the same homes they're using in all these shows. I hope you're staying with me on this. And so what they're doing, they're saying, we don't need this backlot area of these 60-year-old homes that the shows and movies aren't even happening anymore. We're going to use the space for what we need. More on this in a little bit. Number three, you may say, Rick, why don't they move these front facades somewhere and make like a tour and then people pay money? Warner Brothers has that. There is a Warner Brothers tour on another location in Burbank. And you can go there and see what facades are like and how these fake homes are. But if they move the Bewitched homes and stuff there, they could do that. But they don't want to do that. They don't want to do that because if they would do it. I know that makes no sense, but it does make sense because if they would want to do that, take the time, the money, they would have to like reinforce, redo a lot of these things, and they simply don't care. They don't want to spend the money to do this, and it's not financially viable for them. They figure they can't make more money like that because it's all about money and it's a business. So they're going to make more money. It's easier to just tear it down, build new things that will make them more money. It's a business. Essentially what it is, it's like a dead carcass that's there that, yes, some people have a nostalgia to because of these shows, but it's almost like a junk car that's on your backyard, and it's just, you have so much sentimental value and it makes sense. But if you have new owners, which they do now, Discovery, they're like, we don't need this car that's junked in the backyard with spider webs and holes in it. We're going to remove it and beautify the area, which is what they're doing. They're running business. Number four, you may say, why don't they just buy more land and expand out and push these like 100 feet away to an area where they could just like preserve them? This is LA, or the greater LA area, Burbank, LA. It's basically very congested. For people that live in the LA, greater LA area, you'll know. If you live somewhere else where there's a lot of space, we're very cramped in LA. There are, close to 10 million people in the greater LA area, 4 million in the smaller LA area. By the way, I hurt myself right here, so that's why I have, it's a little like, bruised. Anyway, ignore. You may say, what is that thing he has on his thumb? It's not a mole, it's a bruise. Anyway, I smashed my finger. So going back, LA is huge, but there's not all this extra space, and that would take money. So they're not going to invest money into something where they can't make the money back or more. I hope that makes sense. That is why they should. Now, this is their thought, and I totally understand where they're coming from. Warner Brothers and Discovery has no attachment to these homes. It's essentially a rotting carcass they just want to get rid of. Now, here are reasons not to demolish it. I want to get both sides. This video isn't one or the other. I do think one side is more valid than the other, but that's for you to decide. I want to know your thoughts down in the comments below. 4 reasons why they should not demolish it. Number 1, history is being destroyed. All these fake homes, these half homes, these facades are being destroyed. They're not going to be rebuilt at any point. Like, once they're gone, they're gone. Now remember, whenever the actors are inside this home, they're on a different area in a soundstage. It's not that home. that home you only see for like 10 seconds when they go from like the beach to the home. You see the outside of the home, and then all of a sudden they're inside. That's another location. So just letting you know, they're not destroying like the furniture. All this is just literally a wooden facade. Number two, they could move them, which I mentioned before. If they really wanted to, they could move these facades and restore them, paint them, and charge money for them. In my opinion, and I mean, this is almost fact, it's not financially worthwhile, or else they would do it. But they could do it if they wanted to, if they wanted to preserve this history. But obviously it's not what they want to do, because that's not what they're doing. Number three, they could use it as a tour, as a museum. But this is problematic because they already have that. And then if they would move that to the old Warner Brothers area, it is possible, but there is limited space, even in the other main lot. Number four, will people watch or accept CGI, AI? They are taking a big risk. This is the fourth reason why they probably should not be doing this and why they should not demolish it. Because again, they're replacing this area with sound stages that are going to be like green screen heavy for green screen shows and movies. And then basically AI, artificial intelligence, putting a face of an actor on someone else, and all that stuff that's going on now. Look it up online. I don't want to get into the details, but that's a risk, because what if people don't want to watch this type of media? I'm sure some people will, but it's a risk. And so you've seen both sides here, believe it, because I know a lot of people say it makes no sense for Warner Brothers to do this. Well, actually it does. It makes a lot of sense. Now, I'm not going to defend one or the other. I want to know your thoughts, but I also want to give you some closing thoughts right here. Universal Studios Hollywood did something, and because everyone's going into an uproar of what Warner Brothers is doing, and they're making Warner Brothers look badly, I want to say that Universal did something very similar. They destroyed 4 to 5 sound stages that are historic, even older than the Bewitched homes. In fact, they demolished the original soundstage with the preserved set, the opera set from Lon Chaney's Phantom of the Opera, going back to the 20s, okay? The silent movie. The whole opera scene was inside the soundstage, pristine. It was preserved. They destroyed it. They completely wrecked it and knocked it down. What did they replace it with? Super Mario Land. Why? Because it wasn't making any money. It wasn't making any money. This sound, now it's a shame, of course, because I would love to have seen it. I never got to see it. But it makes sense at a Universal point. If you can destroy 5 sound stages and make billions more, because that's what it probably cost, over $1 billion to make the Super Mario Land, and now they're bringing in so much revenue, that it's a no-brainer, right? They made room for this. Should they have Mario Land and expand the theme park, make it more popular, or preserve the soundstage? Again, there was not enough room. These areas are huge, these movie studios, but they still don't have a limited space. And so it's a pretty crazy thing. I know this video is going to be controversial, but note that I am posting both sides. I'm not defending Warner Brothers. I'm not defending the fan. I'm just setting it both out there on, you may ask, why are they doing this? This is why. And then there's also an uproar. Why are the fans upset? This is why. I've mentioned that. And so let me know what you think, because it's happening. They already destroyed a couple. I don't know why it took so long. Probably there's a lot of red tape they had to go through, and people were probably trying to put preservation things. I totally get it. But it's a crazy thing. So let me know what you think. I'd love to hear your thoughts down below. I really do appreciate your support as always. We'll see you all next time. And don't forget, everyone, to stay positive and, most importantly, be hopeful. A really big thank you to all my Diamond tier patrons: Jerry D, Stacy L, Scott R, Citizen Kane 359, Jennifer P, David D, Kevin K, Sally N, and Vito L. If you want to be on this list or receive exclusives as a great way to support the channel, visit my Patreon description below. Thank you.